144 for 5 at tea on the first day, a test match that keeps us hooked on. There's been entertainment in almost every session of this test, well, maybe after that first test in Chennai. But we have a session to discuss with Sanjay Manjrekar and Ian Bell on ESPN Cricket for Matchday, powered by Realme X7 5G and X7 Pro 5G. Both batsmen that went into this session, those two senior batsmen that we spoke of on our lunchtime show, were dismissed in that session. Sanjay, does that make it a good session for India?
Yes, considering that there was nothing much there for the Indian bowlers as far as the pitch was concerned, and that wicket of Bairstow again, Mohammad Siraj showing his skills, his talent, that he's beaten two top-class batsmen off the pitch by the pitch not providing any surprises. It was just balls coming back in. So two top-class batsmen out on defense, and Siraj managing to go through their defense was really an excellent performance. And then Washington Sundar getting that big wicket of Ben Stokes, because once Ben Stokes got to 50, I mean, weren't we all thinking, boy, it could be one of those innings where one man, gets 100 and gets some respectable score on the board, because it looked really set, nice combination of mostly defense and attacking on the odd occasion, but looking really comfortable at the crease. So against the run of play, that wicket of Stokes.
Yep, that'd be a fair assessment. Then would England be even more disappointed, Belly, that Bairstow had faced 67 balls, he had spent some time in, Stokes had his eye and he'd just gone past 50, and it almost seemed like wickets against the run of play.
Yeah, and I think credit to India, they started the session really well. And as a batsman, whatever you've done prior to lunch, you've got to start again. You've got to work hard. So I thought they were on the money. There's no sighters, no easy balls to face up front. So Siraj, again, brilliant bowling. And I actually, watching him bowl, I think he could be a real handful when they come to England in the summer here. I think the way he's bowled, the way it's just nipping back, those lengths in England will be real hard work for the batsman. So I think a lot of credit to India. I think through the session, they controlled the rate, built pressure. I thought England fought really hard. It was great to see Ben Stokes play that well, and he'll be as gutted, probably the most gutted man there. He knows he wanted to go and kick on and score 100, because that's what you need in these conditions. But it was good to see him play well. He really did fight hard, and we've got the two youngsters in there now, scrapping away, doing everything they can to try and get as many runs first innings as possible.
I'd love to get into this conversation. We did touch upon it for a little bit at our lunchtime show, because he got the wicket of Joe Root. But Ian Bell's mentioned him, Sanjay Manjrekar has mentioned him. So let's discuss what's special about Mohammad Siraj here, the manner in which he's got Root in the morning and Bairstow in the following session. Sanjay has seen him on the tour in Australia. He's watching him here. He's watched him in domestic cricket. Ian Bell is watching him closely for the first time. So let's get into a nice detailed chat here. Sanjay, what is special about Siraj?
You mentioned Ranji Trophy. We mentioned earlier in the show as well, average of in the 20s. It's phenomenal. He's got 2 10-wicket hauls and plenty of 5-wicket hauls in his Ranji career. And it's not been a long, Ranji career. So that shows that this guy knows how to get wickets, and not just 1 or 2. 2 10-wicket hauls on Indian pitches is quite a commendable effort. What is so appealing and exceptional about Mohammad Siraj is the fact that he doesn't bowl you straight balls. That is something that I found very striking, even in Australia, that every time he bowled the ball, whether it was short of leg, if you watch a lot of the deliveries that he's bowled, even short of leg balls have a tendency to seam away or come back in. Both dismissals of Root and Bairstow, the ball was nipping back in. It wasn't coming straight off the pitch. He can surprise you by how skiddy he is in nature. He can swing the new ball. We saw that in Australia as well. He bowled to David Warner with that new ball. And he also can get the old ball to reverse swing. So he's not a one-trick pony. Lots to like about him. And I thought he, especially on this kind of a surface where there was nothing for him, he really showed his class.
Well, you just mentioned in your opening comments too, he could be a handful when he comes to England.
Absolutely, the way he's bowled there. I mean, you only need the ball. It looks like as well where it's come out of his hand, it's sort of slightly wobble seam, they call it in England, with Jimmy Anderson's worked on that, which makes it quite hard for a batsman, because again, it could just hold and go away, or just nip back like the 2 wickets that happened today. And that can be very, very effective in England with the Duke's ball. I just love everything. I mean, again, I haven't seen lots of Siraj, but I like his attitude, the energy he brings, and he's got a habit of getting good players out. We've seen it on the Australian tour. And as Sanjay just said there, getting top players out, and that's a good habit to get into. And he looks like he enjoys the battle. He enjoys bowling at the best players in the opposition team, which, again, is a real nice asset. And having known Jimmy Anderson for a long time, we talk about his skill, but a lot of his attitude, enjoying the contest, getting in there, even if the wicket's flat, always in your face. And I see a lot of that in Siraj. So the whole package, the attitude to bowling against the best looks great, and he's got the skills to go with it. So every time he's got involved in this series so far, even though it's not lots of overs, he makes things happen.
Ronak?
Yes, Sanjay.
Yeah, also the fact that the two leg before that he got, very often we see, and the ball tracker has told all of us who follow the game how often the ball sails over the stumps. That first one of Ishant Sharma, I mean, all of us thought the ball would be hitting the stump, but the umpire had a better view and he said it was not out, and ball tracker showed us that the ball was going over the stumps. Those two leg before, the ball was hitting the stumps. So that showed that Mohammad Siraj knows what kind of length to bowl, even when the ball is hard, and you have to get those leg before, because you don't want the ball to be hitting the batsman on his pad, beating the defense of a batsman on a flat pitch, and then the ball is sort of going over the stump, which happened virtually 80% of Ishant Sharma's career. So Mohammad Siraj's length, I think, is going to be really one of his big weapons, that he bowls it right up there to get the leg before. And as Ian Bell said, in England, it's bound to work. In Australia, we've seen it work already. Just a guy who has got, a movement of short of length, full length, in the air, with the new ball and with the old ball as well. So he's got the full range, really, Ron.
It's got all the tricks. It makes you wonder whether he's making a very strong case to just rise up the pecking order, Sanjay. There are so many fast bowlers. Shami is not part of this series. Bhuvaneshwar Kumar at some point will throw his cap back into the hat. There's, of course, Umesh Yadav waiting, Jasprit Bumrah, and of course, Ishant Sharma, who at 32 is still, you could say, in the final quarter of his career. Where does Siraj stand in the pecking order for you now?
Well, the last time I did my pecking order, Ronak, he was in the top 5, and Ishant Sharma was there in the top 5, assuming everyone is fit. Now Ishant Sharma will start feeling the pressure, especially in home conditions, because there is the Shardul Thakur as well, waiting in the wings, and I thought he was really impressive in Australia in the last Test match. He's another guy who's got more than one trick. So people like Umesh Yadav and Ishant Sharma are going to feel the heat from people like Mohammad Siraj and Shardul Thakur. There's Bumrah and Shami. If they get fit, they're right up there in the pecking order. Bhuvaneshwar Kumar will find it tough to get in. Saini has fallen back a little bit. So at the moment, I see, obviously Shami and Bumrah being the frontline bowlers, with Shardul and Siraj now with this performance pushing Ishant Sharma for that third seamer's spot. And Bhuvaneshwar Kumar will not find it easy coming back in.
Maybe this is a little off topic, but since we are discussing Siraj, we all speak in Indian cricket, Ian, of how when Ishant Sharma focused on one format and went to England, played a bit of county cricket, came back a different bowler at a time where India do have this problem of plenty. In England, perhaps they set the benchmark when it comes to workload management and players specialists for formats. Does he strike you as someone who India should look to keep and secure as a red ball specialist?
It's difficult to say, isn't it? Because there's a lot of growth, isn't there, to play in all formats. I mean, I don't see why he can't be successful in other formats. But there's no doubt, for me, Test match cricket, you need if you're travelling around the world, and India have had that success in Australia recently, is you need good fast bowling. And India now have a real good stock of top quality fast bowling. So, yeah, you want to keep them fresh and ready for England, which, again, I think he'll be a real handful there. So there's an argument for that, but I suppose at his age, he's still young enough to still grow, learn, and become the best cricketer he can be. I think as he goes through his career, maybe there might be a period where you want to hold someone back and maybe go that route, but I don't see why he shouldn't be trying to play as much cricket for India in all formats as possible.
Sanjay, you've seen a lot more of him in the IPL.
Clearly, at this stage, when you look at Mohammad Siraj, the bowler, this is his true calling, just from the way he has delivered. We've seen him struggle at the T20 international level. We've seen him get wickets in the IPL. If you remember, there was a 4-wicket haul there somewhere, wasn't it? When he, got the ball to move.
With the new ball against KKR.
Yeah, correct. And a couple of matches later, he gets, hit for 10, 11 runs and over. So he's had a tough time in white ball cricket, whereas the moment he's been introduced to Test match cricket, following up on his Ranji Trophy performances. That consistency that you see with him in red ball cricket or pink ball cricket, you don't see that much in white ball cricket. So India might be more opportunities in Test cricket. Having said that, he's got the skills, interestingly, to do well in white ball cricket, but the results haven't come by to perhaps suggest that temperamentally he may not be ideally suited to T20s, IPL, or 50 overs matches, because that can happen to certain players. We had VVS Lakshman, who was an attacking player, had all the shots in the book, but just couldn't become a formidable white ball batsman. So who knows? Time will tell. But for the moment, boy, extremely precious for India in Test matches with the kind of Test series coming up shortly for India.
Yep, this is the very endearing story of Mohammad Siraj continues to go on, another chapter for it. And quickly, as we wrap this conversation up, Sanjay, also credit to Virat Kohli for the right selection call. We tend to be critical of selection calls when they go wrong, but there could have been a case to play Umesh Yadav with all his experience. It already looks like the right call was made by India.
I thought playing Mohammad Siraj would have been the right call, but we've seen right call that we think are right call may not necessarily be the right call. But I said at the start of the show that there might be a chance that Umesh Yadav might play because Virat Kohli is more familiar with Umesh Yadav, because Mohammad Siraj didn't play under Virat Kohli in that first Test match. So I'm glad that they went for recent performances. And as I said, Umesh Yadav, when he's playing for India, especially in home conditions, you can see that you can make limited use of Umesh Yadav. When the ball is old, he's a guy who will break partnership with Mohammad Siraj. No matter what age the ball is or how the pitch is, he's got, as I said, different tricks to his trade.
Mm-hmm. When he got that wicket of Johnny Bairstow in, it looked like Bairstow was particularly, disappointed with that decision or the outcome of it. Was that just disappointed in himself, or was it one of those where the batsman sometimes feels it's hardly nicked the pad, it's gone almost with the same angle to the keeper, it would have probably missed, and I've got a wrong one or a rough one as a result of what ball tracker's saying?
A bit of both. I think there'll be disappointment. I think he'd have gone in at lunch feeling that he was playing well, so he really desperate to go on and kick on for him and for the team. So I think there was a bit of that, and I think sometimes as a batter, he got caught on the crease. I think credit to the bowling. Bowling was fantastic, and sometimes you just feel it might be a touch high, but again, it's umpire's call, isn't it? So, I mean, it was 50-50 decision, and it went with India today. But I think there'll be probably more disappointment that he just didn't kick on to a start on this pitch today.
All right. Washington Sundar, who's had very little to do in that last Test match. You almost had to remind the captain he was still playing. He didn't last very long with the bat. He didn't bowl very much. Akshar Patel and Ashwin were not giving the ball to Jasprit Bumrah, let alone Washington Sundar. He comes in and delivers. Let's run through that fellow bowling and Washington Sundar itself. Sanjay, thoughts?
Well, the reason Washington Sundar got a chance to bowl, Ronak, was the fact that Ashwin wasn't sort of getting a wicket every over, or same for Akshar Patel. The pitch is a little better and has something for the batsman, something in favor of the batsman. So Virat Kohli had to go for variation. Akshar Patel uncharacteristically has bowled a few loose balls, so that also made him think of a third bowler. And that's why you've got to admire the way he started off. He got one ball to, beat the defense of Ben Stokes. And also Ben Stokes perhaps realized that this is the third spinner, he's not the most experienced, was a little more aggressive. You saw his intent against Washington Sundar was to also try and attack him whenever possible. So against run of play, that ball coming back in, and we heard a lot of talk and lots written about natural variation as to how the ball, when it pitches on the left, it just goes straight on. When it pitches on the seam, it tends to turn. But this was a ball that clearly looked like it had pitched on the seam, but still went straight. So the batsman clearly saw an off spinner which didn't turn, and unfortunately made that fatal error of getting that pad in line of the ball rather than that.
If you just look at Stokes' reaction the minute he's missed it, and it was a reaction of almost resignation. He'd persevered so hard to not give his wicket to Akshar or Ashwin. Can it happen, Belly, when you're focused on two frontline spinners, suddenly the other guy comes in, the part-time or the lesser spinner, let's say, and your guard just drops?
Yeah, well, 100%. I think, again, disappointment that he got a start. He wanted to kick on. We know that to win Test matches, you need hundreds, don't you? 50s generally don't win Test match cricket. It's big hundreds. So he'll be disappointed with that. And, yeah, whether that natural variation and just skidded on, and probably, when he looks back, it's just a little bit stuck at the crease, and then ideally you want to be right back or right forward. to the ball. And as you've said already with Washington Sundar, I think the impressive thing, we've talked a lot about the young English players learning along the way. And I think looking back at that first test match, Sundar bowling there, the control he's given today and the way he's bowled, I think he's improved from that first innings in the first test match. I think he's shown that he's learned on the job. So I think that's a really good sign for India as well, that he's been able again to, when he's coming in even as the third spinner, keep the pressure on and pick up a massive wicket in Ben Stokes.
Okay, I'm going to just have a customary, almost a formality of a question or a comment on the surface, because I'm quite pleased that in 2 shows, we've discussed the player's skills more than we've discussed the impact of the pitch. Now, both of you have seen it in these first 2 sessions. What have you made of it? Sanjay, you first.
I'd like to just say this because this is something that is my latest bee in the bonnet, actually. This a problem with a lot of people that we are talking about pitches. So I'll just say this: when India won that Brisbane Test match and thereby the Test series, nobody was talking about the surfaces, were they?
Sure.
I mean, they were all in awe and just mesmerized by a tremendous Indian fight back in the series after the 36 all-out Rishabh Pant innings. So it was just focus on Indian performances, Indian win. Nobody was talking about the pitches. There is a reason why in the last 2 matches the focus has shifted to the surfaces, and to sort of be upset by that, I don't think it's right, really.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. So Sanjay said what he has to on it. Belly, it doesn't look like there are demons in this. All of a sudden, England's long batting lineup, they still have 2 proper batsmen with folks to come. Does it look like the sort of surface, if you can judge already now, that you need 350 plus, you need a big score, or can England make a match out of it even with a 270, 280 sort of surface?
I mean, again, sat here, I mean, it looks an excellent surface. I think there's England definitely got, there's no qualms about this. I mean, there's been nice bounce for the spinners, but that also allows scoring opportunities. And we will see spin at some point. There's been the odd one, but I think this is a very good, it looks like it could be a very good test match pitch. Good toss to win and bat now if you get that bit right. And we'll see deterioration as the game goes on, and maybe it speeds up in terms of wickets and accelerates as we go through. But so far, it looks a very good wicket.
In which case, they need these last few batters to carry on. Yes, Sanjay, very quickly.
Yeah, made a quick call to Ajit, who's at the ground. Ajit Agar, who is one of our panelists on our shows. And he said that in the morning, there was a bit of moisture and there wasn't much sun. So the pitch didn't dry up as much. But he expects the pitch to be a turning pitch. But he was surprised that it hasn't turned quicker than we've seen. In the second session, we saw Akshar Patel getting a ball to, in the 36th over to go across facing the bat. So you'll see that happening more. So let's not assume that this is a flat batting pitch or that typical Indian batting pitch. This is a turner, but it has not turned as quickly as some of the other pitches that we've seen. And that's why, a lot better than the pitches that we've seen in the last 2 test matches. Better as in better for batsmen.
In comparison, yes, better for batsmen, of course. Very interesting that. Let's see if the last session of play gives us more to talk about. The clock has gone past 2:30 in India. This is the time that the pink ball test started. That was a brand new pink ball. This is a 56 over old red ball. So put all those things in your mind, and we'll be back with end of day analysis with Ian Bell and Sanjay Manjrekar. Big thank you to both of them. We'll see how England go in the final session of play. And do join us for end of day thoughts on ESPN Cricket for Matchday, powered by Realme X7 5G and X7 Pro 5G.